Warning: the following show features foul language and crappy opinions said either by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. Accordingly, the Riff Report and the producers must insist that no one attempt to repeat any vocabulary or shoot any malort featured on this show.
Welcome to the Riff Report After Hours, where we get a little goofy, we get a little chiller, we kind of take it away from what we're normally doing on our news and releases, and we get a little drunk for you guys. I don't think I need to, but we're gonna dink it, we're gonna stink it, because we are the Booth Brothers.
Oh,
There you
that
go,
was an
man. Now it's
awesome
official.
transition.
Hell yeah, love to hear it.
That was awesome.
But hey, I'm pretty fucking buzzed, and it's Ryan's fucking week. So what's up, Ryan? What are we doing? Go and take it away from me.
Gladly. We tonight are doing you guessed it, another list, but this time we're not picking our top 10 prog tracks. We're not picking our top 10 hardcore tracks. We're keeping this nice and broad and open for all of you. And we're taking shit back a step to let you guys know a little bit about us personally. And that is with our top 10 most influential songs to us personally. So we're about to go through a ride of different genres, completely different tracks from different times and eras, to explain to you guys through a musical outlet what led us to the point that we are at right now and why we listen to the music that we listen to. So without further ado, I'll hit you up with my first track. And this is kicking it all the way back to, let's say, 1998. Imagine
Jesus.
this. You got a sepia tone over your camera. No, I'm just kidding. But shit does look
I'll work
pretty
something
bad
for you.
on film.
Right.
1998. I was let's see, fucking 7 years old. So as a kid, had my stepdad was, at 7 years old, you don't really have like a ton of access to music. You just kind of hear whatever's around you. So at the time, my mom was a big country fan, unfortunately. She listened to the typical 90s country, which, I'm kind of blanking on artists right now, but your Garth Brooks, your Brooks and Dunn, your fucking Toby Keith, your whatever. I don't fucking know.
Right.
And I wasn't really into that stuff. There's some songs here and there that are a little catchier than others, and I'd get down to it. But what really influenced me was my stepdad's music. Driving around in the car with him, he always had control of the aux, as we like to say. But at that time was cassettes and CDs. And he was always playing Metallica. So Metallica has to be on this list because that's what started it all for me. No surprise to anybody. The biggest metal band of all time, especially in the United States. But I picked the song "The Shortest Straw" from "And Justice for All," and I have to say, picking out which Metallica track I was going to choose for this playlist was a difficult task because my at the time, Kill 'Em All was a little too old. He listened to Ride the Lightning a little bit, but what he listened to a lot was Master of Puppets and Justice for All and the Black album. And then he would go on to listen to all the other albums. He was a very strong Metallica fan. He didn't have any
He
qualms
recorded
with
all of it.
their. He
It's not
did.
surprising.
Funny fun fact. Fun fact is my stepdad looks exactly like James Hetfield. Um,
I
although
was waiting for you to bring it
unfortunately,
up, but then I found like
yeah,
you didn't
the
mention
perfect
it, so
time
I
to
had
slip it
to.
in. Yeah.
Right.
You know, um, time has been better to James than he has to my stepdad, who's going
Right.
through quite a bit of problems right now, unfortunately. But yeah, he introduced me to Metallica. We listened to it constantly, and I don't know. I just feel like for the time, the shortest straw is a song that I remember vividly. I didn't want to pick any of the big ones like One or Blackened or Master of Puppets. I wanted to pick
Right.
a little bit of a deeper cut, and this is what you got. It was between this song and Harvester of Sorrow, which is the
Okay.
next song on the album, and ultimately, I just thought the shortest straw was the best one for this list. I think it would do my stepdad proud to put this track out here for you. But
Nice.
I mean, Metallica can take you in so many different directions with music, but obviously, it was super easy for me to get into other bands that my stepdad was into at the time. It grew my love for Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, fucking Megadeth, Iron Maiden, just like all the fucking old school thrash bands that are out there. I genuinely thank my stepdad on a regular basis for setting me up with the building blocks to become the metalhead that I am now.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this is an album that Kat always tells me is one of her favorites. I mean, her like all-time favorite song is One. I've never been a huge Metallica guy specifically, so this was definitely a super deep cut in my mind. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that song it is. When you gave me this list, um, but it's a good song. You know what I mean? I can see where that starts everything off, especially as like a young kid. You know what I mean? And being like, oh shit, like this music exists. When I started
Yeah.
off, and I'll talk about it more later, but most of the listening that I had was just from what was on the radio. As we're driving around with my mom, my dad, that sort of thing. I didn't get any of my own CDs until later on in life. Um, but I feel like Metallica was definitely a band that was played on the radio quite a bit, being a little more radio friendly, a little more popular, a little bit more in the zeitgeist. Um,
Yep.
but it's always touted in her circle at least that Injustice for All was one of the better albums that they had put
Yeah.
out. So this was a solid
Yep.
pick, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Metallica, Ride the Lightning and Justice for All and Master of Puppets are masterpieces.
Right. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's cool. All right, my first track, and I don't remember if you'd mentioned this honestly, but we're doing this kind of in chronological order to how we got into this music, everything like that. One of the first songs, CDs, bands that I'd gotten into outside of, here's a segue, radio, rock, metal, stuff like that. The moment in my life where I started being able to pick my own music. I don't remember the name of it, but it was through a mail order catalog of CDs. Hey, give us $1. We're gonna ship you 10 CDs, and then you pay them like $10 or whatever, and then
It's the
you can.
BMG.
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
And there was several tracks, several albums, several artists that we ended up getting into. And it took me forever. I texted you about this earlier, and I was like, "Fuck! How do I curate this list of like 20 to 30 songs and kind of to showcase what this is hard?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and some
Super hard.
when we limited these lists, I could be like, "Oh, easy! I can find the genres. I can fuck it up. I can choose a song that isn't actually in the genre, but is close enough." You know what I mean? But this
Yeah.
one was
Yeah.
like, "How do I tell everybody like where I started?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it enough. But the one album that I keep coming back to specifically is the 2006 release Age of Reptiles by Showbread. This is kind of off the main path band. You know, I've mentioned this here on the Riff Report quite a bit. You know, and you mentioned it too about me and everything, telling everybody my own business. But um, I started off, you know, I grew up in a household where, and I love my parents to death. You know what I mean? I know that they wanted me to try and live my best life, to protect my immortal soul and everything. And the only things I could pick from were Christian metal. So that's why anytime you hear me talking about a band, they probably played on Tooth and Nail, on BEC, on Solid State. It was all Christian metal, you know what I mean? And if they weren't
Yep.
specifically that, they were a metal band that played, you know, that were Christian as well. So, but the song that I picked was one that I keep coming back to from the album that I keep going back to. I still listen to it to this day. Anytime I'm in the car, I'm gonna pop it on. It just calms me. It's perfect to me in my mind. But the song is "Oh Emetophobia" by Showbread from Age of Reptiles, released in 2006. It's not really metal, you know. It's more noisy. It's more, as they like to say, raw rock. Raw rock kills unless you know how to contain it. Um, and I could there was a number of other tracks I wanted to pick from this album, but this is the one that I felt was more perfect. It's just got enough kind of chaos to it. It showcases everything that they do. You know, there's slower moments in there. There's some good breakdowns, not as we normally know them here in metal, but it's just honestly, I don't know, perfect. Like the art is cool. They they just fucking rule. You know what I mean? And I just got to give them credit. You know, I don't think they really do music anymore. It showcases them on Wikipedia as being an active artist. They did have an album release, I believe, in 2023.
Okay.
Our fathers were models for God. So it's only been a few years. Hopefully they decide to do some more music because they just fucking rule. And there were so many other songs that I wanted to pick from this band, but this was out of a list of bands that I got albums from. It was Showbread, it was Under Oath, it was Demon Hunter, FM Static, Falling Up, Dead Poetic. There was like 10 different bands that we'd pick from, but I just keep finding myself, fuck, 20 years later, 21, 22 years later, always coming back to this album. So this is the one I had to choose. Um, did you listen to the song? What'd you think of it, man?
I did. I listened to it a few times so far, and I dig it, dude. I mean, it reminds me of like I was really big into the band called He Is Legend.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
if you're familiar with them,
Yep.
and it kind of gives me those vibes a little bit. It's like got like a southern rock twang, but with like a lot of energy and aggression. And I love the vocals, kind of remind me of like early Every Time I Die a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely see how this steers you in the direction that you're at now for sure.
Exactly. Right. Just love them so much, dude. And there's, like I said, I want to. I just, if I had the time, if we didn't have to not make this a 4 hour fucking video, I could go on their whole discography and talk about all my favorite shit. But This is
Yeah.
where it started for me, and I appreciate them every day, and I wish more people would get into them. You know, yeah, they had that Christian kind of rock sound, or at least attachment, but they're just good even if you listen to secular music only. You know what I mean? They're just fucking awesome.
Right.
So
Oh yeah. Yeah, I sometimes it doesn't even fucking matter. I don't even really pay attention to the religion of bands nowadays just
right,
because if you try to avoid all Christian metal, you're gonna miss out on so much good
a lot of good stuff.
stuff.
Exactly.
Um,
Right.
not everything has to like tie directly into lyrical content or belief or
Right.
whatever it is. Like there are like me as a musician, I don't even think about the lyrics first when it comes to a song. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's
Oh yeah.
like way down the fucking line for me.
Yeah.
Um, so hell yeah, I like this. I like this as a starting track
Nice.
for you. And like you said,
Hell yeah.
dude, yeah, if we had hours, this playlist could have gone on to 25, 30 tracks. It
Yeah.
was a terrible experiment here, project
Right.
to put together to explain our musical lives within only 5 songs apiece.
Right.
But I think we've done a good job at it.
I think so
So,
too. Yeah.
um, leading into my next track, take things from back when I was, let's say, 8 to 10 years old, and we move things a little farther forward to 2001 ish, I'll say. And that is with Blink 182, a band that one, a lot of people might make fun of me for it. I don't give a shit. When people
Me
ask
too.
me, I don't give a flying fuck whether you think that it's cool that I like Blink 182. I know there's a lot of jokes out there about the band, but ultimately, I love that band and they've influenced me greatly.
Yeah.
But the track that I picked here is All of This from their self titled album, which came out in 2003. So a little bit later. But I'm I'll explain why I moved a little bit ahead. So I started listening to them in my young teens, maybe even a little earlier than that. But they, I got into them right around. Obviously, Enema State was a big one because it had songs like "What's My Age Again" and "All the Small Things," which blew up.
Right. Yeah.
Um, And then in 2001, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket was the first album that I like really like got hard into. But I specifically remember when I was a kid, my parents were divorced, so I would go to my dad's house on weekends, and he had this CD rack of all these different CDs, and I found his CD copy of Enema Estate, and it had the nurse
Okay.
on it with the cleavage, and
Scotty L
as
had
a
that, bro.
yeah, oh yeah,
Whoa. All right.
old
Nice.
Scotty L. He was into some cool music. I'll get into
All
that in a
right.
minute, but yeah, dude, he had Enema Estate on there, and I specifically remember the cleavage of the nurse and
Of
the
course.
parental
Duh.
advisory sticker on there.
Uh huh.
When I saw the parental advisory sticker, I knew that it was probably going to be good.
Right.
So I remember asking my dad about it and was like, I had a Walkman at the time. I had many Walkmans, many portable disc players, but um I was checking it out, and my dad was like, "Oh nope, you can't listen to that," and
What?
took it away
It's on
from
the
me and put
radio,
it back on the
dog.
shelf.
Come on.
But he, I would just wait until no one was around, and then I would sneak the CD and listen to it,
Nice.
and fucking fell in love with it. Then, like I said, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket was a killer record, and then 2003. Blink 182's self titled album is what really set with me. So like from the beginning of it, like as a, let's say 10, 11, 12-year old, 13-year old, I really appreciated the immature humor that surrounded the band, because I was immature and humorous at the time. And then come 2003 was my 8th grade year of in middle school, and I'm in puberty full effect. This album took things into a more emotional and a little more like close hitting topics, and this helped get through the terrible time that is middle school for me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I just I would say the whole entire album is fucking great from start to finish. There's not a song
Yeah.
on this album that I hate or even remotely dislike. But all of this was a song that slowed things down and got real emotional. And it features Robert Smith of famously of The Cure, a band that I hadn't really listened to at that point in my life. So it kind of opened up the door for The Cure, uh, similar bands, Green Day, The Offspring, Sum 41, Newfound Glory, AFI. Um, which a lot of those bands that I just listed off were also on the shelf from old Scotty L. So he was into some cool shit.
Hell yeah.
But
I can
then
say your dad
obviously
was into
this
AFI. That's crazy to me.
he
I
no
can't imagine.
AFI was not in the list.
Okay, all
But
right. All
de-
right. That would have been
definitely
surprising.
no, definitely Green Day and the Offspring.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this just led into what ultimately would build the foundation of the punk and pop punk that I would get into throughout my
Right.
life, and kind of leads into that like whole Tony Hawk era of music, that is just fucking awesome.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, we've had more, me and you specifically have had more than enough conversations about your love of Blink 182 and how that kind of formulated everything. And I think for a lot of us, that's who it was that got us into pop punk, specifically. A lot of their songs were more radio friendly. Yeah, they've got the explicit tags on there, but we all heard it on the radio. I
They
miss
bleeped them
you, all
out.
the small things. Right, exactly. They'd have the radio edits and stuff, but these were
Yep.
songs that we all got into and listened to, and it was cool. You know what I mean?
Yep.
To have a genre that has punk in the name, and
Yep.
parents could just be like, "Oh yeah, it's Blink 182." Of course, I've heard them on the radio. The pop radio stations and
Yep.
everything. It was cool. This was
Yeah.
definitely an album that I ended up. I'll just a little spoiler. I didn't pick any pop punk for this, and I should have, because that's been a huge thing in my life as well. But I need to have a couple other things that formulated who I am today. But this was definitely an album that I got into a lot as well. Um, and just can't get enough of. You know what I mean? If I don't really make any playlists based on Blink 182, I feel like it's a low hanging fruit. I want to find something that's more,
Nuanced.
niched, and then
Yeah.
if Blink shows up, yeah, I'll listen to them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
was a really good song. I'm surprised that a guy like you and a guy like I mean that with love. A guy who's into honestly a little bit more heavier shit, that sort of thing. Yeah, this was the song you picked. I expected something from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, dog. I'm so proud of you.
Hey, man, you said it before, and I am with my musical taste. I don't go in a straight line. I'm fucking all over the
You're
goddamn
fucking
place.
everywhere, dude.
I
Exactly.
I just like music, man.
And I respect that about you. That's why we're here, dude. That's why we can do
Yep.
this.
Yep.
Alrighty. Speaking of Tony Hawk, you mentioned that. I'm gonna go ahead and shift us over into my song. And this is a song that I found on Tony Hawk's Underground, one of my absolute favorite fucking games of all time. I'm a huge gamer.
Me
You
too.
guys
Me
probably
too.
couldn't guess that, or could. I don't know. Um, but yeah, one of the heaviest songs I'd ever listened to was on the Underground playlist, soundtrack, what have you. And this is what, honestly, this is the song that probably shaped the whole rest of my life. It is the song Crusher Destroyer on Mastodon's first album, Remission. Um, it's thrashy, it's fast, it's heavy, it's metal. Hearing this song on that playlist, which is crazy that I got to hear it because it's on a video game soundtrack. You know, my parents would never be able to vet that. And it's cool because it's about skateboarding and shit. And I'm sure my parents were like, yeah, get outside and go fucking do something. You're playing too many video games. Come on. Maybe this will
Yeah.
inspire you. It didn't, but here I am. Dude, that first riff, not even that first riff, but that intro, the first like 5 seconds with that growl kind of sound, which I've since discovered was taken from Jurassic Park. It's the T-Rex fucking growl remastered and mixed into a weird different fucking sound.
Yeah.
And then the first riff, that it just,
Yep.
dude, that I
Killer.
heard that for the first time at like, so this album was released in 2002, excuse me. So it was released before I got into like Showbread and Demon Hunter and all that stuff. But when I got to the game, I heard that and I was like, whoa, they have music like this? I would have been 13 years old at that point because this was around 2006, 2007. And I'll go ahead and say those years, the literally 2007 was the year I moved from Minnesota back to Michigan. I was born here in Michigan, just several miles from where you're living now when they had a hospital out there. Um, so it's a big time in my life. I moved around a lot, so music was huge for me. Video games were huge for me. I was able to make friends, and moving around a lot made it easier for me to, be more sociable, start friendships, but to
Yep.
maintain friendships, that wasn't really a thing because I'd move to like a new school after like a year, maybe a year and a half,
Right.
two, something like that. So I couldn't maintain that. So like I said, music was just huge in my life. Um, but then I heard that and was like, whoa, this is not a solid state artist. This is not, somebody I'd see at Pulse Fest in Indiana. This is a bare bones, set in stone, just heavy fucking band. What?
Yeah.
So anytime I would get on that game, I would go and check off hip hop other. I would check off what, just like rock or something, and I would leave the metal tracks on. And that's all I would
Oh yeah.
listen to. It was fucking awesome. And now, a few years ago, whatever, um, I've maintained making adult money. Um, One of my first records I purchased was Remission. Then I got a hold of Blood Mountain. Then I got a hold of Leviathan, the special release of whatever.
Those are
And like I said,
expensive.
this is just a band that I followed my entire life since then. I will always defend Mastodon despite, whatever happened, despite any sort of changes, with Brand doing more vocals, with Brent passing away. Rest in power, big dog. Um,
Yep.
I will never turn my back on Mastodon. They really formed who I am as a person. I just love them so much. You know what I mean? They encompass everything. You know. So I
Yeah.
had to go with Crusher Destroyer, their first track.
Hell yeah, I love that. I from time to time when playing Tony Hawk Underground would do the same thing, filter out some stuff, but for the most
Yeah,
part, dude,
this is a solid
my
fucking soundtrack. Yeah,
my taste in hip hop was credited to the Tony Hawk
yeah. Despite
series
what I said,
because
same. Honestly, I'm gonna
yeah,
bring up
yeah,
a band pretty
absolutely.
soon that
Yeah.
yeah, was also on there. So don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but it's just at the time I was more rock influenced, metal influenced. You know what I mean? Just trying to
for
find
sure.
something a little bit different compared to what I was
For
listening
sure.
to.
No, yeah. I agree 100%. But yeah, dude, I struggled to yeah, I struggle with this list, but Mastodon was definitely a band I kept in mind when comprising my list. And I'm happy that I didn't pick Mastodon because it gave you the opportunity to pick Mastodon.
I appreciate that.
So
You're a true friend. All right, you're a homie through and
yeah,
through,
yeah.
and I love you for that.
Hey, I love you too, man.
Aw.
Um, next up, we're a little bit off on timelines. You're talking about like 2007 ish. I'm kicking it back to 2004, which was the year that I went into high school, and um, it was a weird time for me because at that point, me and my stepdad were kind of at odds with each other. It was when my teen
Oh,
angst was like kicking in, and
right.
we were gonna brawl if we
Okay.
stayed in the same house together. So I
Right.
made the decision to move in with my dad, which none of us did at the time. We visited him every other weekend or whatever, but I decided to make the full move to a different town, different household, and start high school off fresh, which was a really, dude, one of the greatest decisions I ever made because the bond between me and my mom and stepdad grew from the separation. I got to spend a little bit more time with my dad and stepmom. Um, and it led me to a school that was filled with like-minded people that would further lift up my ability to get into the hardcore and screamo and punk scene. But I remember it very vividly in the summer of 2004, just before I was getting into high school. One of my friends from my old school gave me Atreyu's The Curse on CD.
Nice.
And I remember listening to it previously, but I would listen to music with screaming, and probably due to the style of music that it was, I thought it was all terrible. But then I got this CD, and the from the opening track, which is the track I'm choosing today, Bleeding Mascara. This song was I it blew my mind. It was like I was like, "Whoa." Like right out the gate, it goes straight into fast double bass, sweeping guitars, screaming, and then the further you get into the track, you start to get those like nice um, pass offs between Alex and Brandon with their clean vocals and their harsh vocals. And I just thought this was what I was waiting to find. It just I knew that this was the kind of music that I was going to be into going forward, and it definitely kickstarted the ongoing trends that would happen right afterward. And then, luckily, the school I was going into, all of the people I would make friends with were all into music similar to this. So, right, I mean, following Atreyu, I got into bands like Under Oath, Norma Jean, Devil Wears Prada, Every Time I Die, shit like that. And it's just fucking great. Good
Right.
shit.
I'll tell you, this album specifically is what got me through my junior and senior year of high school. So we're talking like 2009 to 2011. I had some language classes, and this was like a transitionary period in our high school where we started introducing online classes. Um, and you could take like math and language arts and whatever through something, but I was doing specifically my language classes in this computer lab that they had set up over in the middle school. So it was cool because like the students got to walk from the high school to the middle school, and it was kind of like a free section, ish, whatever.
Yeah.
But instead of doing my actual work, like I would do some of the work, I'd do the little, because we used Rosetta Stone at first. What I would do is I would turn off my microphone so I would get complete credit for my voice lessons, and then I would do the little point and click fucking lessons and shit, and actually like whatever. So I did about 60% of my class. But I found a little thing where if I turned off my mic, it would just go through each little, it would give me automatic credit for each little voice thing. So I passed that class with 100% A. It was great. The teacher who was watching that stuff, her name was she's still alive, Mrs. Smith. She was super chill with my older sister, who was a grade above us. So when I got into that class, she's like, "Oh, you're Chelsea's brother? You're chill, dude. Just stay focused. You're good." So she never really like keep an eye on my stuff, and she had access to everybody's computer screens because it was a computer lab. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would sit in class, I would read manga, and I would listen to music. And the songs that always started my playlist, this was when Playlist FM was just getting big. And you could curate your own stuff, make your little HTML playlist for MySpace. Um, was this fucking album. Bleeding Mascara specifically was the song. The Crimson, I also had songs from Lead Sails Paper Anchors, which is my all-time favorite Atreyu album, but I'm not talking about that right now. Um, yeah, when I heard these guys at first, it was around that time. I was like, this is insane. Like, you can start a song like that and just make it great. Like, what? So yeah, it was a lot of Atreyu and a lot of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It was fucking Full Metal Alchemist the manga. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's those two things in tandem that got me through my last 2 years of high school. So I love that you picked this
Oh, yeah.
track. It took me a second because on YouTube, they've got a deluxe edition of The Curse, but they're really showcasing the remaster,
Of
which is
course.
dog shit. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this out here. Brandon, you suck.
It
Fuck
is.
you, dude. You're a piece of shit. I miss
Yeah.
Alex every day. But yeah, this was a really good era of Atreyu, and like I said, I just miss it every day. Can't. That's about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, let's move us along. I was talking to you guys about some Tony Hawk's Underground. And I can't remember which game this was on, but it was either on one or two. But I'm shifting us out of metal for a second. Is what I'm about to do because, as much as I love metal, pop punk, doom, stoner, all that kind of stuff, hip hop really shaped a lot of what I listen to. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of, and I'm talking like kind of not necessarily super old school like 80s 90s. I'm not talking Run DMC. I'm not talking Wu-Tang Clan. I'm talking about a,
Oh, I
a
am.
group that came out. What were you gonna say?
No, I said, oh, I am. I was heavily into both
All
those
right,
groups.
me too. Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about a
Yeah.
little group of individuals that came out of Minneapolis, a city I lived in for a number of years, and still have a lot of love for. Um, this is Atmosphere, a group formed by Slug and Ant. There's a few songs that I kind of went back and forth on, and I decided on this one because we're moving forward in my timeline. We ended up on about 2006, 2007, like I said, when I had moved from Minnesota to Michigan. Um, and then we're going a couple years ahead to when I'm graduated. You know what I mean? I'm working at Taco Bell in Berrien, actually. I held that job down for about 4 years. And that's all I was doing. I was working nights. I refused to work days because I'm not getting up at fucking 8 a.m. to make breakfast food at Taco Bell when they finally got that menu around. Um, I was just a night guy. I was smoking weed with my friends. I was listening to music. I was playing hella video games. And I didn't really have shit going on. So you know what I mean? I got my high school diploma. I graduated. I did exactly what my parents had wanted me to, and that was about
Yeah.
all I was looking at. So, I had spent a lot of time at the time on Spotify before they were absolutely fucked, and why we're not on fucking Spotify anymore. But I would curate playlists for myself, to listen to. I had a pop punk playlist. I had, a metal playlist. But the one I went back to a lot when I was gaming specifically was my hip hop playlist. And these were some guys that I got into because of Tony Hawk's Underground, and just continued to follow because of our shared connection to the city of Minneapolis, the real Twin Cities. I'm looking at you, St. Joe, Ben Harbor. You're fake. You're not Twin Cities. You're so divided. That's not how twins are.
Yeah.
All right. Um, but the song I picked was "Guns and Cigarettes" on the fuck 98 release. I want to say. I just looked it up and then totally forgot. Um, excuse me. Oh, I was off by a few years. 2001. Lucy Ford, the Atmosphere EPs, the song Guns and Cigarettes. I would constantly play that song because it's got like a nice kind of upbeat beat specifically. There's nothing specifically about the lyrics that I love except for the one moment. Um, oh, there it is. It's about 1:30 where I'm pretty sure at the time I was going through a breakup, and Slug brings up a thing where he's like, "Why the fuck would I put your name on my record? Go to hell, girl. You make me sick. I hope your new boyfriend gets cancer in his dick." I was like, "Whoa, dude, that's so cool." I feel that. You know, but this is a guy who, doing a little research on, I don't remember if he had formed it. I'm pretty sure he did. Rhyme Sayers Entertainment. I know he had a big hand in that. It just seemed like he was a really DIY kind of guy. Like, hey, like make music, build it up, whatever. Um, I just loved his vibe the whole time, and I still do. I finally got a chance to see Atmosphere perform last year, Labor Day weekend at the Great Minnesota Get Together, the Minnesota State Fair, a big staple in my life. So it was kind of a full circle moment. I've been listening to this artist for a really long time. They had the song "Trying to Find a Balance" on Thug or Thug 2. I'm pretty sure it was the first one. Um, and just spent a long time following him. At least at that point, you know what I mean, when I kind of got into him was around the same time as Crusher Destroyer, so about 2006. Was like, whoa, this is so cool. Listen to him through my headphones, and then 19 years later, hey, he's here for a hometown fucking show at the Minnesota State Fair. Um,
Hell yeah.
it was a great fucking time. I also got to experience that show not only with my brother, but my cousin, who I hadn't seen since uh 2012 when we had gone back to Minnesota for a nice little family vacation. Dude was like 3 feet tall and super young. The next time that last year when I got to see him, he was standing at about 6'4", I want to say 6'3", maybe. Um, Old compared to then. Had his own little life going on, still living with my grandma, but doing pretty well for himself. You know what I mean? And we got to go out and just kind of hang out. My grandma stayed at home. She's like, "You boys go have your time. I bought your tickets, but you and Jordan are over 30 years old, so just make sure things go all right." You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
was honestly a really good time. I got to share a beer with my cousin. Um, kind of teach him the ropes of things. That was his first time at the fair, which was absolutely surprising to me. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, we used
Yeah.
to make
Right.
this a staple. Like, that's crazy. I had,
Yeah.
I gotta just share a little aside. One of my favorite moments, and I think the moment that made me as extroverted as I am, and okay with like public speaking and just being around crowds of people is there's a channel in Minnesota. I don't know if it still exists or whatever, but it was channel 45. And I remember the jingle 45. They did like some old school stuff. It was kind of like a Nick and Night sort of deal. Whatever. They just played older programming. Um, they had an entire section at the fair, and in that section they had a stage set up. On that stage, they had a joke contest. They invited people up onto the stage, and they're like, "Tell your best joke." It's crowd elimination. We'll judge your joke based on the applause, whatever. And I'm fucking 8 years old, 9, maybe 10 or something. And my parents were like, "Go up there, go tell a joke, whatever." And I was like, okay, and it was cool for me because I wasn't that nervous. I was like, I just have to tell a joke, easy, you know what I mean? So I get up there, and the MC of the evening was like, "Oh, here's a young guy, a little kid for a fucking joke." He's like, "Here's, I'll just hold the mic here, you tell your joke." I snatched that mic out of that guy's hand and was like, "I got it. It's all right." And he's like, "Whoa, dude. Here's the joke. You guys ever heard about the guy who drank 8 Cokes? He
No.
burped 7 Up."
No.
I didn't win, but I was 10, and I'm sure I got that or whatever. So, like I said, just every sort of thing that is attached to this. Like, Minnesota had a really great, a lot of good memories for me, and the fact that atmosphere, everyone attached to that is from that state. I always got to give them love. You know what I mean? So, we're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
bring out some introductory songs from him. It's early tracks. So
Hell yeah. No, I love it. This I strayed away from going outside genre for this one because if I did, I this would be incredibly difficult. But
right,
yeah, from a hip hop standpoint, this is right up my alley. I mean, fucking love Aesop, Bus Driver, fucking Del the
yep,
Funky Homo Sapien,
yep,
um, fucking all this shit. So good.
right.
His track is solid.
Hell yeah! I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Um, hell yeah. Uh, all right. Back to my timeline for a second. I'm kicking us back to 2006 ish. Hard to remember these days, specific years, but we'll call it around then. I had gone through my first couple years of high school, um, being into emo, screamo, pop punk stuff, and going to a lot of local shows. I eventually would get turned on to the local hardcore scene in Northwest Indiana, which brought at the time a lot of fucking heavy hitting bands to the area. Thankfully enough, and the one band that I'll call out, this one was really hard to figure out. I knew I needed some hardcore band from the 2000s that would really encapsulate the hardcore that I was into, and this made the most sense. So I went with the Warriors with Slings and Arrows off of their 2004 album. This is, or War is Hell. This I didn't get into until a little bit later, but caused me to go back and listen to a ton of old hardcore bands like Have Heart, Shai Hulud, Terror, Bane, Casey Jones. And this was just like hardcore is what I would spend my life doing for the next handful of years, fully invested in the scene and basically being a hardcore dude, wearing band shirts, camo shorts, and fucking vans, and just two-stepping away and
Right.
punching people and getting rowdy. Um, but if you listen to this track, you will 100% hear why I love Knocked Loose so much.
Yeah.
This song was
100%. I get
covered.
that.
Yeah, this song was covered by Knocked Loose
Oh
later on,
shit.
and is a great cover, but the vocal styles are shared here. It's that high pitched Mickey Mouse scream,
Right.
as everyone calls it.
It's a good way to
But
describe it. Yeah, that's awesome.
but dude, this shit is just fucking so hard, dude. You get your two-step riffs, you got your breakdowns, and it's just tough, dude. Uh, I spent so much time in dirty, gross ghetto basements listening to music like this and getting the shit rocked out of me, rocking the shit out of other people. Just overall having a pretty good fucking time, because while there was a lot of like gang violence and gang representation in the hardcore scene back then, especially in certain areas of Northwest Indiana,
Yeah.
for the most part, hardcore, as if you're into it, it is a tight knit community who everybody looks out for one another. And while there those fucking crowd killers out there,
Yeah.
it's more of a community than it is a division. Even though violence is like a really big part of it, it's
Right.
weird,
Yeah.
but yeah, just getting your fucking violence and aggression out in a healthy manner rather than
Right. That's what I've always
going and
appreciated
doing something
about
stupid.
hardcore metal stuff like that. Like, and just on my end, listening to a lot of more metal than hardcore. I didn't really get into any hardcore scenes growing up. I didn't really have music scenes. It sucks because I ended up missing out. A lot of my friends from Minnesota, right after I moved, like a couple years after, um, a buddy who I listened to a lot of different music from, like they ended up forming their own band, whatever, getting their own fucking venue and shit like that. And if I would have just stayed there, I would have been a part of that. You know what I mean? So it sucks, but whatever. Life goes on. Like whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but I've noticed that in each of these scenes is that community that you're talking about. When somebody falls, you pick them up. You know what I mean? You mentioned the crowd killers. Yeah, there's everybody in there, but those are outliers that, you know what I mean, kind of don't get it. Like they're just there for themselves in a selfish way. They just want to hurt people, and those people get picked out of that crowd pretty fucking quickly. But I did always appreciate that out of any of the scenes that we've been involved with throughout the years is that it's about the community. Yeah, we exist on the outside of culture. You know what I mean? Everybody hate, well, not everybody, but most people hate our music. They think it's aggressive. They think it's evil. They think it's mean. They think it's rude. They think it's violent. They think we're all about death and dismemberment and suicide and everything. But we're not. You know what I mean? We're people that just have our brains wired a little bit different. You know, we love the fast music. We love the aggressive tones. We love the fact that we can get these feelings out in a way, that not necessarily hurts people, but, is more powerful than pop, regular radio rock, country, that sort of thing. That's just who we are. You know what I mean? We feel emotions, we feel aggressive emotions, we feel these sort of things, but we don't want to take it out on other people that don't want it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the
Right.
day, we're all there for each other, and I've always loved that. So that's the thing.
Yep.
Even in the darkest times, we're there for each other, and I can always count on that. You know what I mean? I've been picked up more than enough times, being dropped, crowd surfing, being punched in the back of the head, and ending up on the fucking floor of a small venue. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" I'm okay. Let's get right back to it. You know what I mean? Like, no harm, no
Yep.
foul. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I love that. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I
It's a good choice.
remember.
I did. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I remember um, one of the scarier times. I picked a beef with one of these hardcore like crowd killer dudes on
Okay.
MySpace,
Uh huh.
and he was older than me. He was in the gang culture in the
Okay.
hardcore world, and I was just a fucking dude who was part of the scene. And I remember being at a show. He told me, he was like, "Go to this show and we'll fucking see if you're tough." And I went to the show, and I didn't back down, but the amount of people in the community that had my back and were on my side,
Yeah.
um, it just really shows that that it is a community and it is a culture. It's not like these aren't people that were like super close friends with me by any means, but people that respected me and that just knew that I was legit in the scene,
Right.
and not just a fucking poser dude who's just like going online talking shit,
Right.
um, who had my back. And because of that, I didn't get my shit smothered into pavement. So
Exactly.
I appreciate the hardcore community 100%.
Hmm. Hell yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, like I said, I kind of wish I was able to get into a scene, but by the time I moved out here to Michigan, like slowly realized that we were way farther on the cusp of society than you know when I was out in Minnesota. So it kind of sucked. But
Yeah,
hey, you win some, you lose some, and I found my community. You know what I mean? I really did. So it's
yeah,
cool. I don't remember. I don't know any names or whatever, but just the fact that I can drive up to Grand Rapids and I've seen several individuals at enough shows that I've also been to up there that we could both be like, dude, you remember this pit? And they're like, oh my god, yeah. You know what I mean? Like I found that connection, so it just took a little bit extra time for me, which is fine. But I did want to
hell
say
yeah.
I ended up listening to Knocked Loose's cover. I'm looking at you, Jordan. I listen to fucking Knock Loose, of Slings and Arrows, and that was pretty sick. So I think they showcased it just right.
Hell yeah.
Alrighty, we've got fuck 3 more tracks to talk about. We're
Yep.
making some time on this one. But
Uh,
I'm making a huge jump into my future. This is a list that lasts it goes from starts in that 2004-ish era to 2006. We're starting to lead up more into this decade. So a few years ago, I was really getting into some more like stoner fuzz doom kind of stuff. And I don't know exactly how I found these guys, but they just showed up on a playlist one day, and I won't shut up about them now. You can attest to that. I won't stop talking about them. But the song, this is from their album Doom Wop, I believe released in 2022. Gotta find them real quick, just so I can sound like
Yep.
I know what the fuck I'm talking
2022.
about. Sick. All right, love it. Yeah, Doom Wop. This is the song "Jesus Was an Alien" by Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol. This, like I said, was an era where I'm trying to kind of branch out a little bit more. You know, I've just been listening to metalcore for fucking 20 years at this point. I'm like, fuck, I need something else. And there, there was some sort of artist that I had started this playlist on and worked my way out of. But this song came on, and I was like, who the fuck are these guys? This is when we were at Kingfisher. They just showed up one day, and I was like, what? What's going on? And I listened to it. It was the song Cincinnati Tilt. And so
Yep.
from that point, I veered off a little bit, started exploring them a little bit more. Um, Found this album, and then just ran with it. This is my favorite album by them so far. Their earlier stuff is pretty good. Burger Time Classics, it's awesome. Love Born to Lose. Not a huge fan of their latest album, Big Dumb Riffs. But their Burger Babes from Out of Space album is also really good. I love pretty much everything by these guys, but that song Jesus Was an Alien, I remember about a year ago, yeah, whenever I had seen them, and I was telling you guys about it at a meeting, a work meeting. I was like, hey, Rickshaw Billy, I was like, this is the song you need to listen to, and it was Jesus Was an Alien. I will say on this album, this is the only song that I know from start to finish lyrically. Usually when I end up in the shower and I'm like, hey, Kat, do you want to come hang out with me? Whatever. I'll pop this song on and we'll just sing it together because it's just so fucking funny. You know what I mean? But they got that perfect,
Yeah.
like, Texas fuzzy kind of sort of feel. They got some goofy ass lyrics. Leo's got a funny voice. Aaron, he's the bassist. He's just great at what he does. And I swear to God, what's his name? Sean Saint Germain, their drummer. If they didn't name this band based on him because he's Rickshaw Billy on Burger Patrol, I'm not gonna listen to him anymore. All right. They're just a nice kind of lower end. They've been around since 2017. Like not as popular kind of band. Anytime I get a chance to see these guys, I will. Any chance I can to listen to these guys. I've been basing some playlist at work off on these guys because Texas Fuzz, that's perfect for a smokehouse barbecue joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
love it. And like I said, the lyrical content is just fucking insane. So I got to give it to them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, dude. That yeah, it was a little farther along in the timeline for me, so I didn't quite make it that far into my
Right.
musical journey for tonight. Maybe we'll save that for the future, but yeah, dude, solid fucking pick. I mean, I fucking love the stoner and fuzz phase in my life. I didn't quite touch on in this playlist because I wanted to get a little bit more important stuff out there. But I mean, this falls right along with fucking like Sleep and the Sword and fucking
Yeah.
different bands like that in the stoner realm that I was into. So solid
They're going to say, you're bringing up the
record.
sword. I'm absolutely surprised that I didn't just sit there and pick a song from them because this tattoo that I have on my arm was crafted while listening to the sword. We had that album with Burial's Blade on it,
Yeah.
playing like the entire time. I mean, the dude ripped out this tattoo in like 45 minutes, which was insane. That would have been no, it's
Is
not
that
that
Warp
one.
Riders?
No, is it on Warp Riders? No, that's got Trace Brujas on it. Um, was it Age of Winters? Yes,
Maybe.
Age of
That was their
Winters.
first
That
album.
album.
Yeah.
It was that one playing, and then I think I had my artist or at least his girlfriend at the time, now his wife. I was like, you need to play this. I was like, you need to play this one, and you need to play Apocryphon, which has
Yep.
Veil of Isis, Cloak of Feathers.
Uh,
Um,
that's my
that's what.
favorite album by them.
Yeah, yeah, good choice. Which was honestly the band that got me into fuzz, but I gotta give a little bit more credit to Rickshaw Billy because they're a little bit closer to home. You know what I mean? The Sword, like they've been around for a while. They're on a little bit of a
Yeah.
higher pedestal, but I just connected with
Right.
Rickshaw Billy a little bit more. It's just that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
They're just fucking weird. You know what I mean?
Yep. I
So
agree. And I love them. But I got
yeah.
one last song for you. And this is kicking things up to, I'm going to say 2010. So um, I'd left high school. I'd gotten my first full time job at Graphic 22 screen printing. Um,
Nice.
I was surrounded by a bunch of, um, I would say, metalheads that were um, a generation above me. They were the Gen Xers. They were I was 18, 19. They were 21, 22, 23. Um, they were older and turned me on to that was I'll emphasis this that place and me working there for I'd say probably 5 years. That place crafted my musical taste more than anything to date. I was into the stuff that I was into before I got there and had a good baseline, but working with a lot of older dudes who were into different forms of different alternative music. I got into a ton of different shit, from fucking Morrissey to fucking this band that I'm going to talk about right now, which is Meshuggah. And the song that I picked for tonight is Combustion off of Obscene, which came out in 2008. This was the first song I ever heard by this band, and it blew my goddamn mind.
Same. Bleed was my first track from these guys from the same album. But when I
Yeah,
heard Combustion, yeah, dude,
dude,
blew my ass right out, dude. It's
dude,
crazy.
blew my fucking mind. From the beginning, like it starts off with just the low guitar, which is a really cool riff. But then once the drummer comes in,
Yeah.
and I'm like, hold on a second, this timing is fucking weird. This doesn't match up. And then all of a sudden it
Yeah.
fucking starts.
Uh-huh.
And it's the thrashiest, most in your face, heaviest fucking shit
Yep.
that I had experienced up to that day. I mean, I had been listening to Whitechapel at this point. I had been listening to Job for a Cowboy at this point. I'd been listening to Black Dahlia
Oceano,
Murder at this point.
Emir, all that.
Oceano,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
all of
Yes.
that. I'd been listening
Yep.
to all of that stuff up until now. This was the heaviest thing that I had ever
Yep.
heard. And
Uh-huh.
it just changed my life because then I went down a spiral of um, coinciding with my love for vinyl music. It got me in. I mean, this shit like just turned up the capabilities of what music I could listen to, and it got me into bands like Opeth, Sixth, Viljaharda, Gojira. Um, I had obviously listened to Mastodon by this point, but like further submitted my love for Mastodon and this type of music. And dude, it just nothing beats Meshuggah, in my
Right.
opinion. Like
Honestly.
when I come down,
Yeah.
like if you were to sit here and just be like this band or Meshuggah, I'm gonna just keep saying Meshuggah forever, probably, because this is the best metal band of
Meshuggah or
all
Fear Factory.
time. Meshuggah.
Sugar. Easily. Exactly. Right. I
Meshuggah.
just needed to make a
Dude.
little connection to that video you
Yeah.
sent me
Yeah.
earlier. I
Well,
did
yeah.
watch it.
Hell yeah.
That's how you know I
Hell
watched
yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
dude, fucking
Yeah.
Meshuggah has just the deepest catalog of music. Like, and they haven't like stayed stagnant. They've changed their shit over time while
Yeah.
also keeping the same nuances that got people into them in the first place. And
Right.
like Destroy Erase Improve and fucking Nothing, I, Catch 33, Obson, Coloss, dude, the Violence Super Recent, like, dude, it just keeps going.
Just
It
literally
is
all of it. Like there's no I can't find out of that list you stated and anything else you might state. I'm never going to turn my back on those albums. Every single one is fucking great, dude.
yeah.
I love that you picked this one. I saw that and I was like, fuck, I need to pick something that can correlate. I didn't. I will admit.
Yeah.
My last track it does not even hold a candle's flame to this band, but that's fine. You know what I mean? We're picking some of our more influential ones, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. That's all I can say about it. It was so fucking good,
Yeah.
and I always chase these guys.
There's obviously quite the timeline post Meshuggah for me, but if we were to cap it off right here, I think this gives you a pretty good idea of the majority of the music that I'm into. And at least in the metal world, this doesn't even come close to shining on any of the other genres of music that I'm into. But I did want to say I struggled really hard picking my last song. It was between this song and Between the Buried and Me, Alaska. That
Okay.
song technically would have shown up. It would have been in the same space as this, but it was earlier. Um, I found out about Between the Buried and Me through Victory Records. I was into a lot of Victory bands at that time, and Between the Buried and Me was my first introduction into proggy gent metal, and
Right.
Alaska like also blew my mind in the same aspect, and would like go on to like shape my influence for bands like Animals as Leaders and Tesseract and Born of Osiris and the Human Abstract and shit. But
Right.
um I when contemplating these two tracks, I was like, I have to give it to Meshuggah. It's the best band
Yeah.
of all time.
Exactly. Yeah. I semi agree with that, and my semi agreement is gonna segue me into my next bucket, my final track for the evening. This is a band that Jordan, while you're watching, go ahead and put one more on the counter. I had to pick The Devil Wears Prada. I had to. But I decided to pick something a little bit earlier because, I had my little back and forth with it. Everybody else has their hate for it. But I chose something from their new album because I wanted to talk about it for a second and just kind of showcase how a band that can start off, you know, just as a bunch of fucking teens, exactly where we were at. Uh, you were in a band, you know what I mean? Um,
Yep.
and this is a bunch of guys that got together, made music that they loved, did what they needed to. We'll go ahead and just go back and showcase how started off a band, full of Christians that would play at Christian festivals, and play a little bit heavier, and ended up becoming something completely different. You know what I mean? They beat the statistic. You know what I mean? And just continue. They grew up, they evolved, they changed. and this is where we're at now. But I decided to go with the song "When You're Gone" by the Devil Wears Prada from their new album Flowers, because fuck everybody who has anything bad to say about this album. It's a good fucking album, all right. Uh, Rant over. It's a little bit slower. Um, it's the only reason why I brought this up is because this is a song that I keep coming back to. I've listened to every single release by these guys since I started getting into them with Plagues, back when I got into high school. And this is, I don't know, like I said, it's just one that I keep coming back to. Like it's heavy, it's a little bit slower, it's a little more emotional. You know what I mean? The lyrical content's kind of, I'm not gonna say sussy, but like, some people might think it's lame, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It just it pulls on my heartstrings. It's it's just it's a good fucking song. I know that people feel like it was people feel like it was shipped out to a bunch of guys in California and not written by the band or whatever. And you know what? I don't care. I like what they did. I like that they grew. I like that they were able to change their sound in such a way that still kind of makes them relevant, honestly, despite what anyone else might say. Now, to go back, like I said, I got into these guys around the time for Plagues. The first song I'd heard from them was "Hey John, What's Your Name Again?" Specifically because I had a good friend in high school named John. So our thing to do in the hallways, as we were passing by each other, was, "Oh, hey John, what's your name again?" It was just funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I just kept listening to them and continued following them, and just it this is a band that I've grown up around, and I got to give them that credit. You know what I mean? They're still doing what they want. They're still making music. They haven't completely phoned it in at this point. I will I
Yeah.
will say, if they continue changing anymore, then I might not. But for right now, I'm still super into these guys.
They're still good.
Um,
Yeah.
I had I had a different honorable mention, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one out. There was two songs that I wanted to decide upon with these guys. I ended up picking this one because I wanted to cap off my list with this band, because honestly, they're just one of my all-time favorite bands. Um, the other song was "Sailor's Prayer" by these guys from their album 818, which was a huge showcase of a different sound where they got a little bit more ambient, a little more, I'm not going to say electronic, but um, two things on why I like that song. It's just a great song. The second thing is that on the music video, they used felt puppets like the Muppets, and I thought that was cool until I watched the entire video, and then it broke my heart because the Sailor's Prayer is about, I don't know exactly what it's about, but at the end of the video where it's showcasing this puppet who goes to sea and he fishes and whatever, he comes back to his hometown, looking at pictures of his wife, his girlfriend, whatever, his love. Turns out she died, and he's coming back to visit her
Oh,
grave, and it absolutely tore on my heartstrings. And that's what I love about these guys. They can put out music that you think is just heavy, and they want to be, you know like I said, that, but they really make you feel, and the Devil Wears Prada makes me fucking feel. So
yeah.
I had to give it to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I gave him a shout out earlier. Um, when I was
You
talking about
did,
a
and I love that.
trade.
I did notice that.
But
Thank you very much, sir.
yeah, I mean, I was heavily into these guys back in high school. Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord, their first album
Yep.
came out in 2006, and I was like all in on it from the get go. I listened to the songs as they came out as demos, and I mean, fucking dogs can grow beards all over.
Nichols
Texas
is
is
money too,
south.
dude. Right.
Yep.
Good.
Fucking uh these guys were super solid, and I love these guys because they're from Dayton, Ohio, so they showed up in my area a handful of
Right.
times, and I saw them at one of my local hometown um venues called Java Gyms. It was a old coffee shop that they had a stage and they would do shows
Oh
on
yeah.
the weekends. And I saw them there. I knew the owner, and he allowed me and my friend to hang out after the show closed. And we got to stand around and talk with the band for a little bit as they were kind of loading out, which I thought was really cool. And then that would be my last interaction with the band, because then a handful of years later, I'd say probably a decade later, I would
Right.
run into them at Greenbush when I was working there, and end up giving them a tour of the brewery and taking photos with them back there in the brewery, which I know they said they didn't remember. But that's fine.
They
I'm
said they
just,
remembered, but because they
yeah, they're
lied
a
to me, I was like,
liar.
"Do you guys remember?" And they're like, and I'm like, "Oh, a friend of mine said that he saw you guys," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we remember." And I'm like, it was hilarious. That was like my moment where I could, like, I'm meeting my heroes, but I can also talk normally to my heroes. I'm like, "Don't lie to me, guys. If you don't remember, just be honest." And they're
Just
like,
say it. Yeah,
"Okay."
right.
Just fucking say it. Like, it's fine. It's not a huge deal. Like, I just was hoping. And they're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, right.
I was like, all right, hey
Yeah.
Kirby, like you're way cooler than these guys now. All right, that's fine. Yeah, it was hilarious. Trust me, I had your back in that moment. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't expect them to remember me at all, and that's fine.
That's
But
fine.
but yeah, solid pick. They could have easily made their way on my list, but just didn't make the cut this time.
That's fine. I get it. It's all right.
Yep.
Trust me, man. I'll say this. This is a little Breath of the Wild, or excuse me, Tears of the Kingdom reference. If the Devil Wears Prada has 1,000,000 fans, let me be one. If they have 100 fans, let me be one. If they have one fan, I'll be that one. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. This is the end of our list here. Hopefully, that gives you a little bit of an insight as to where we came from and where we're at musically. It was definitely a fun time to put this together and
Oh yeah.
challenge ourselves on such a limited playlist. But for now, I'm going to take us on out, and I'm going to ask you to please like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon in the corner so you can get notified when we release new episodes. You can catch us on YouTube at the Riff Report News. Follow us on Instagram at the.riff.report. Check us out on Tidal. Search the Riff Report with Ryan and Tyler to catch all of our playlist tracks of the week from our news episodes, as well as this playlist from tonight and many other playlists. Reminder that we are putting out new episodes every Wednesday morning for news and releases, and every Friday night for after hours, which you're watching right now. But we are going to go to bed. So for
Yeah.
now, stay
Exactly.
loud, stay angry. We'll catch you in the pit.